somehow or other, when necessity starts to demand us to dig deeper, you know, then like the question has some like very strange and like transformative effect. So the necessity in this war moment that's happening is like downloading this amazing scripture. And so it's celebrated by philosophers throughout time. And it's very interesting. It says in kind of the offerings to Gita, there's not anyone that can read this that won't get something out of it. It's kind of amazing because it's kind of where one of the amazing gifts of Gita is wherever you are, there's some motion that can happen. And it's a very like kind of impartial scripture in a lot of ways, where sometimes you read scripture and it's like, do this and you know everything's bad and you're boiling for eternity or whatever it is, and then do this, and it's kind of like, no, do this, but there's a little consequence, but do this and this has this, and then it starts to go, and actually this is where movement is starting to happen, and then start to contemplate this, and then you make your own decision. Like, it's a very interesting kind of like conversation. So that's the premise of Bhagavad Gita. I'm actually not sure which chapter we're in right now.
We're actually at the very end. We're reading the Glories of Gita.
Okay, the Glories of Gita. Okay. So anyways, we're at the very, very end.
All over. Okay.
And then we just actually read one chapter a week. And so maybe that's on par with Glories of the Gita for this week. That it was kind of a glory of the center of the Gita. But hopefully that's helpful to like build the context of this conversation. And so throughout the Gita, each chapter, Arjuna goes, well, what about this? Like, you know, you're talking about controlling your mind, and it seems impossible to control your mind. It's like controlling the wind. And then there's answers that come, right? And so you start to go, oh, right, that this is being dealt with 5,000 years ago, and it's still very relevant now. That's something that I very much like about it. It's not like, oh, well, that's true for 5,000 years. It's like, no, when there's something true hiding in it, it will always be true. Because it's far more eternal. There's a word in Sanskrit, it's sat, which means eternal, but it also stands for truth. And so the deepest truth will always be true, right? There's relative truths and they're kind of true for different circumstances, but like deepest truth will be able to pierce be past geography, past gender, past skin color, past economic circumstance, past that, right? It has to be true no matter what. And so that's ultimately, like, we want to try and search for those kinds of things, not like relative truths, and something much deeper where you go, oh, well, that's an amazing realization on the nature of what the soul is. You know, then you have to go on the exploration. So, anyways.
Because it's a journey of consciousness, there's always something. It's not like, oh, I've already read this book, you know. It's like, we've been reading it for every week for 15 years, and before that, many, many, many years. And never, ever, ever do you read a chapter of the Gita and go, you know, I already know that. Never. Because it's a journey. It's really a journey. Deepest. Anyway, that's just a little. All right.
Which page are we on?
337.
54. Hari Dev was saying.
54?
Yeah.
Indra Lokam?
Is that
354 is not a page in this.
337.
No, 54. We were in those verses.
Verse
54.
Verse 54.
Okay, 337.
You want to start soon?
Did we already? Have you guys already started?
Yeah, we. Oh no, we just did the Vandana.
Yeah, 52. We need to read.
Okay, so we're in the Glories of the Gita. This is not actually part of the Gita. This was composed afterwards, but it's kind of helping us understand and giving us some perspective of the sacrifice of starting to study these ideas. There's a word, actually Krishna says this in the Gita earlier, where he says, without sacrifice, you will have no happiness in this life or the next. And it's very interesting to ponder that, because our ego wants comfort and different varieties of comfort. But the strange thing about seeking comfort is that the more you reach comfort, your physical and your mental health totally declines. There's actually an animation to sacrifice and adventure within existence, and to be embarking on the journey for something wonderful. So, taking a couple times, Wednesday night, a little bit of sleep going on, and taking a little time to ponder these things. That's called the sacrifice of knowledge. Jnana Yogya is what it's called in Sanskrit. So we're embarking on this sacrifice of knowledge and trying to move along the path of yoga, which is ultimately we should be in a state of communion, of linking with reality at every moment of every day in real yoga. And that's kind of where the Gita ends. That there's a great dance that you're a part of, and it's full of feeling and dynamic experience. So we maybe are on that journey, but a lot of these benedictions that are in this last part of the Gita are kind of like, hey, if you just take a step on this path, you're getting so much benefit. Just by making some attempt, some motion in that direction, there's so much benefit. So I'm just kind of giving some context to this last chapter where there's so many of these benedictions that are given. And conversely, if you're not making any kind of attempt on a spiritual level, a conscious plane, to move forward in connection, then you're kind of moving in a more external direction that's not as beneficial and satisfactory to you. That is the mystery. Sacrifice means satisfaction. Okay, so 54?
Yeah.
Okay, did we read the Sanskrit already?
No, no.
Okay. Indralokam avapnoti. Or are we just reading the English? Yes.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
We haven't started reading Gita yet. We just finished the Vandananda Sugar Chanpadma.
Okay. Well, we'll just read 50.
Excuse me, guys. Actually, we left off in 51.
51?
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
great. You can just read the English. One who with unflickering mind regularly chants these confidential holy names, achieves perfection in divine knowledge, and finally reaches the supreme destination. So these are the names of Gita that Krishna gives in the chapter before, and you can see those Ganga, Gita, Savitri, Sita, etc. And we just read the page each.
You don't want to read the Sanskrit?
Oh, we can read the Sanskrit.
Yeah, let's do
Okay, let's read the Sanskrit on 51, and then we'll read 52, 53, 54, 55, 56 in Sanskrit. If you don't know Sanskrit, that's okay.
It could be one person reading, like you read very nice.
Huh?
Just read along together, or
Okay.
you're going to read them.
Yeah, we can all just chant the Sanskrit
Right.
together.
Right.
Ityetani japen nityam naro nishchalamanasaha jnana siddhim labhe nityam tatante paramam padam padhe samartha samsurne tadadham padhamacare tada godanajam punyam labhate natra samshaya Tribhagam padamanastu Shomayaga phalam labhed Sadamsham japamanastu Gangasnana phalam labhed Tata dhyanadvayam nityam Patamano nirantaram Indralokam avapnoti Kalpam ekam vasedruvam Ekam adhyayakam nityam Padhate bhakti samyuta Rudam lokam avapnoti Gano bhutva vaseshiram Adhyayadam chapadam va Nityam yapadate janaha Prapnoti ravilokam sa One who with unflickering mind regularly chants these confidential holy names, achieves perfection in divine knowledge, and finally reaches the supreme destination. If one is unable to sing the entire Gita, half of it should be sung. Then without doubt the piety gained by making a gift of cows will be attained. And this is referring to ancient society. This is a multiple thousand-year-old society, Vedic society, where essentially the economy was a cow-based economy. milk is like, yeah, milk, butter, ghee, all those kinds of things are like kind of the basis of a healthy life. 53, one will achieve the fruit of the Soma sacrifice by singing 1/3 of the Gita. And the result of bathing in the Ganga is achieved by chanting 1/6 of it. One who unfailingly sings 2 of its chapters every day will surely attain residence in the abode of Lord Indra for 1 millennium. One who sings with devotion 1 chapter daily will be recognized as an associate of Lord Shiva, and he will attain residence in the abode of Lord Shiva for immeasurable time. Okay, so beautiful.
That's 56.
Beautiful benedictions. And then 56, a person who daily sings 1/2 or only 1/4 of a chapter will achieve residence in the abode of the sun for the time of 100 manus.
Wow.
Okay, so this might sound kind of mysterious if you don't have the context of Vedic understanding. But in the Vedic understanding, there are many, many, many kinds of bodies within the universe. And ultimately the universe is vibrational. It's a matter of, everything is a matter of vibration actually, within reality. And different experiences of reality are based on the sensory experience of different vibrations. So we see a particular reality, but it's only because we're interacting with a particular tiny little bandwidth of the light spectrum. And that's our reality, but there's many, many bandwidths of many kinds of energies, and all of those can have bodies to experience within those bandwidths. And there are also bandwidths of energy that we don't have the data receptors to even pick up. So that being the understanding, a water-based body is not the only kind of body that there is. There's many, many, many kinds of bodies on many, many planets. And this is referring to taking birth on different planets and in essentially another dimension, right? A dimension that we don't have access to, but at the same time it could be existing at the same time we are here. So big, big, deep ideas of just what's going on in this universe, what to speak of the multiverse. Okay, 57.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
What is Sama sacrifice?
The Soma sacrifice, it is...
Just a technical.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice that at the outcome of it comes this nectarine substance called Soma.
It's a kind of, I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a very long process, but at the outcome of it is this nectarine substance that's said to give you like a very, very long lifetime within this body. Yeah.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
What is 1 manu?
The life of 1 manu. Okay, I happen to know the answer to this question actually because I pondered it for a while. This is such a trip. Okay, so a manu is basically a progenitor for a particular part of the universe. So every part of the universe has manus. We have a manu in our part of the universe, and all of them are from Lord Brahma, who is the creator of this universe, and each universe has its own Lord Brahma, which is very similar to like the LDS conception of like, you can kind of have your own universe. But each universe has a Lord Brahma. They're not God, they're just the creator of this universe. And his progeny is called the manus, and the manus are the progenitors of life within a particular section of the universe. So each manu is alive for 71 cycles of 4 yugas.
Ooh.
And how long is one cycle? of
One cycle of 4 yugas is about 4.5 million years.
4.5 million years. So that's
Yeah.
that times 71.
Yeah, it's long.
That times
time.
71, yeah. So when you read Bhagavatam, it talks about the time of the manu before this, which is millions of years ago, and all the way up to the time of the current manu, which is where we are now. And it has stories from two different histories.
This is Vaivashvata.
Vaivasvata, and the previous Manu was called Swayambhuva.
Swayambhu.
So, yeah.
Whoa. So if we read only 1/4 of
Yeah,
a
you
chapter,
can do it.
we will achieve the residence in the boat of the sun for the time of 100 manus.
Yeah, so
Would
100
you like
Manu
to do
means
that?
100 times 71 times
That's
4.5
4.5
million.
billion.
But that is not,
And you have to understand, at the time that these scriptures are written, not one culture in the world is even conceiving a number of 1 million. And this is conceiving, nobody has even the ability to write 1 million, right? The whole system of being able to write numbers like that and write, with the speak of being conceived, there's no ability to even write the numbers in the number systems in the world. So these are conceiving time in the billions and explaining kind of how it works.
and there are 14 manus in one day of Brahma.
14.
14 successive manus in one day. So, but that's nothing compared to the soul. The soul is eternal. So we're like, oh, really? I get to live that long? It's like, so what? You know, it's like we don't have to be in the plane of time at all. But these kind of benedictions, given in the Vedic context of all this knowledge of huge, inconceivable cyclical, like cyclical time. But this is kind of giving the ordinary benedictions of reading Bhagavad-Gita. But the real result of, and the real meaning of yoga is to develop love of God and come to the plane of the soul. But these are like, you know, if you read, you know, encouraging everyone to
They're
go.
beneficial.
With the bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beneficial destinations in the relative
In
plane.
the relative plane.
In the relative
The
plane,
relative,
not the
exactly.
absolute plane. Because the absolute plane is the source of time itself. So, right?
Right, it is not even, there's not even the passage of time in that plane.
Okay. All right, 57 to 60. Gitaya shloka dashakam sattapancha chatushtayam tridekam madhava
Shlokanam yapatendara Chandralokam avapnoti Varshanam ayutam tata Gitadam ekavadam cha Shlokam adhyaya vevacha Smaram syatva jano deham Prayati paramam padam Gitadam apipatam va Shunyanam prakavata Mahapata yuktopi Muktivagi bhavechana
Gita pustaka samyukta pranam syatva prayatya Savayutam avapnoti Vishnitam sahamodate.
A person who faithfully sings 10, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2 verses, one or only a half of a verse of the Gita, will attain residence on the moon for 10,000 years. One who at the time of leaving the body remembers half of the Gita, a quarter of the Gita, one chapter, or only one verse of the Gita reaches the supreme destination. By singing or hearing the purport of the Gita at the time of death, even a greatly sinful person qualifies for liberation. One who is touching the holy book of the Gita at the time of leaving the body will attain to Vaikuntha and joyfully reside in the association of the Supreme Lord Vishnu.
Wow, awesome.
So when someone first hears, resident on the moon, so I'm just going to speak but for just one moment about this. What we can perceive of different things with these senses is not very accurate. On the plane of consciousness, there is the plane of what's called Chandraloka. And that is considered a heavenly kind of existence. But one can't enter into that with a gross body. We can perceive some kind of impression about that. But these are all planes of consciousness. So to attain to that more subtle existence after death, that's that simply by any remembrance of the Gita, that is astonishing, since to enter into the moon plane of consciousness in general is very, very difficult. So this is just showing the power of the auspiciousness of the Gita, even on this relative plane. And that's, so it's not like a person should aspire for that necessarily, that's also temporary.
Okay, 61. Gita Dhyaya Samayukto Mritomanu Shatam Brade Gita Dhyasam Punah Kritva Lavate Muktamuttamam Gita Yechara Samyukto Mriyamano Gatim Labe Yagat Karma Chasarvatra Gita Bhata Prakirtamat Tatat Karma Chinyodasam Budva Purnat Famapnuya Pitranudishya Shashrate Gita Bhatam Karoti Santushta Tastasya Nirayadyanti Svargatim Gita Bhatena Santushta Gita Rashratataha Pitrilokam Prayatyeva Putra Sharmadata Para. Shad, do you want to read these verses?
Sure. Vivi,
61.
could you make a reading?
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
Thank you.
One whose concentration is intent on just one chapter of the Gita will attain a human birth after death. Then again, studying the Gita, he achieves the ultimate liberation. One who utters the word Gita at the time of death attains his life's fulfillment. All actions performed along with the singing of the Gita become purified and successful. A person who sings the Gita during the performance of obsequial ceremonies satisfies his forefathers, who, being liberated from a hellish existence, ascend to heaven. Satisfied by the offerings accompanied by the singing of the Gita, the ancestors offer their descendant their blessings and ascend to the heavenly plane known as Pitarloka.
So that's for the on Shraddha ceremonies. It's so important.
Yeah, and
Shraddha ceremony
that's often,
to read the Gita.
And because during the Vaishnava Shraddha ceremony, there's the offering of Mahaprasadam.
Yes.
And that is even more so.
Can I ask a question?
Enough, sufficient.
yeah, Hardev.
Can I have the microphone? Oh, thank you.
Can I ask one after you?
Sorry. Oh, you had a question first?
No, go ahead, read it. I'll ask it
Okay.
after you.
Alright, thank you, sorry.
Yeah.
So in verse 58, we read that one who at the time of leaving the body remembers half the Gita, a quarter of the Gita, one chapter, or only one verse of the Gita, he reaches the supreme destination. So how easy it is to remember one verse of the Gita at the time of our death. Because where my mind goes is, why should I practice every day if all I have to do is just remember one verse when I'm gonna die?
That's so easy.
I reach the supreme
Very,
destination.
very,
I thought about this a lot when I was little.
let's see, so I really just only have to remember it once. So,
And also is to
You're not
remember that
going
it's
to
by
remember
grace
that
that you
at the
can
time of
do all of this.
What you remember at the time of death is the thing you're most attracted to. So this attraction will come through experience of the nectar of the Gita. That is increasing faith. Faith means experience. It doesn't mean believing something. But what we remember at the time of death is always what we're most attached to.
Mhm.
So that is a cultivation.
Not
Yeah.
so easy.
It's funny because that's a very that's a very business-like approach to it. It's like maximum efficiency, the Toyota method
Yes.
or whatever.
Bargaining.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of scripture.
Right. Let me just say this point real quick. Actually, there's a process, and a lot of people have experienced this when they have a near-death experience. But it really is also described in another part of the Veda that is what happens. Ultimately, what's happening here is we're a soul, and we're having an experience of a certain chunk of frequencies of energy. That's what's happening. And we're in a state where we're absolutely controlled by those. Our hopes are controlled by, we want the energy to manifest in one certain way. Our fears are controlled. We don't want it to manifest in a different kind of way, right? We're fully immersed in this experience of this little chunk that we find ourselves within. And when you're about to leave this body, your consciousness goes through a recounting of the entire experience. Because that's going to form your essential subtle self that's going to move on. And that's why people come into their next body with a certain set of personalities, a certain set of fears, a certain set of all kinds of stuff, because they're carrying on from their last conscious experience. And so when you live a particular kind of life, it's going to download all the way through you. And if you are all caught up in these different hopes, the last thing you're going to think about is the Gita. Right? You're going to be thinking about whatever all your BS is. Right? And that's just how it is. That's where your consciousness is. When you leave, your consciousness is where it is. So you're on a conscious journey. And you're exploring what's really truly happening is you're a unit of consciousness and you're exploring an infinite ocean of consciousness. That's what's happening. That's what life is. That's what existence is. That's what experience is. And without a map, you're kind of just going from here to there. But as you understand where the map is, you can start to decide what you want. That's what Krishna says multiple times in the Gita. He tells Arjuna some truth, and then he's like, now make your choice. Do what you want. Do what you want. Right? We have freedom as a free being within this ocean, but we don't understand it. And we definitely come into these kind of bodies and get caught up big time. Right? And then it's all, I mean, the thing is, we know it's all going to end. We know we're all hurtling into a grave, but we're like fully caught up in the experience. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to be caught up. You can be fully like alive, but you have to be in relationship to the Lord. So there's, some advice on the journey, but you don't just get to be like, oh my God, I'm going to die in 5 seconds. Oh yeah, Gita.
What was that?
Can I also ask a question?
Yes, please.
Is this thing on?
Is it? Is it?
I don't think it is.
Press it for 2 seconds.
Oh, there you go.
Who wrote this chapter? Because I haven't read much of the Gita, but I'm just wondering what the nature of this chapter is about. Is it this is why we read the Gita? The vibe just seems different to
It is.
other chapters.
That's right. It is totally. This is a later chapter from when the Gita was spoken, and it's in a scripture called Vaishnaviya Tantra or something like that. It's like a later chapter that is added on to the Gita, and a lot of it is, sometimes there's some motivation for people who are selfishly motivated. Because ultimately what the Gita is saying, almost from the very, very beginning, is you have to enter into your life as a process of yoga. And yoga doesn't mean have really loose hamstrings. It means connect consciously to the fundamental reality. And the very beginning of the Gita says, hey, you want to actually experience life? Start experiencing it without imposition. Contribute without asking for anything back, right? That's called karma yoga. So the whole idea is that you don't do something because you're going to get something back. So some of this is talking to people who just cannot get out of that idea, right? It's like, well, why would I do anything? The only reason I would do something is to get something back, right? Like, that's a certain type of calculus, very business-like calculus.
It's the first reason we do anything.
Right,
anyway.
right. So
the first interaction with something is going to be, what am I going to get out of this,
Yeah.
right? It's a refinement of consciousness, ultimately, to kind of start to go like, what can I contribute to this? That's a transformation that like we hope will wash over it. I mean, on this thing on dying, I thought about it a lot when I was little because it's mentioned in other scriptures too. If you meditate on something at the moment of death, then you'll go towards that direction. And there's a very nice verse in Bhagavad-Gita. It says, "He is that which his faith is." And you're like, what we are is something quite mysterious. That's why one of the practices of Bhakti Yoga is Atma Gyan, right? And Atma means yourself, and Gyan means knowledge. Knowledge of who you are. And it's a practice because we're very mysterious to ourselves. We really don't know, so we don't even understand the body that we're in. That's why you have to go see a specialist for all the different kinds of things that can malfunction. Okay? What to speak of like, why is it aging in this type of way? Why does it like certain things? Why does it dislike other things? Like, like we're barely scratching on these like very simplistic, like, why do I get angry when this happens? Why am I, why do I react like this? And I see someone else go through the same situation and their reaction's very different than mine, so why is mine different? And so then you start to compress, and they use that word samsara, right, which is like, or samskar, sorry, which is like your accumulated kind of like prejudices, which I think leads into this part that we just read where it says, if you'll be given a human body if you're practicing reading Bhagavad Gita. I thought that might be kind of peculiar to pause on that for a second if you weren't thinking that you could go into different kinds of bodies, because that's a Vedic concept, right? Vedic concept is that you're a unit of consciousness, and the nature of the soul is to think, will, and feel. And you may go through many different journeys as a unit of consciousness, even into plants, right? Even into all so many things have consciousness inside of them, right? And they all are thinking, willing, and feeling with different amounts of exertion that they can have on the environment. And so that idea that I'm actually that the deepest part of me is thinking, willing, and feeling is a really nice and very valuable meditation, right? Especially on the surface of who am I. So if I think, will, and feel means that I'm actually not doing all of these things in the environment. I'm willing, and then whether it actually happens or not, many other things that are not actually in my control are happening. And like the easy example is, I'm trying to use some words to express something right now. And my tongue is vibrating with a whole bunch of other things to express that. But if my tongue was not working or my vocal cords were broken, I could be willing it, but it won't come out, right? I'm not the controller even of like this body situation that I'm in. There's something else that's animating and impelling everything. So in Bhagavad Gita, there's this word ahankara, which is the word in English that translates to ego, or I do. And it's hammered on over and over and over again. Don't consider yourself the doer. And so you're thinking like, well, if I'm not the doer and I'm running around doing stuff all day, like how does that harmonize itself? So you're being granted the ability to do things because you're willing for them. And sometimes you get the chance to exert your free will. And sometimes in your life you're going to have more expression of that and sometimes less expression of that. So then you're going, oh, I have the chance to kind of will. And then why this thing of feeling? Say ultimately what the soul is searching for is feeling. So all of this addiction with matter that we have and the gradation with it is to search for some type of feeling. And isn't that like so funny? You think like, because you think like, oh, well, the banker in New York that's like, kind of corrupt, like he's bad, and like the person in Orange in India, he's good, or like these kinds of things. You start to go like, they're surfing feeling in consciousness, right? And we are searching feeling in consciousness. And so we try different things that interact with matter, and they give us different sensations. And then what the scriptures are urging is start to search for feeling in a slightly different pattern, right? And so the beginning of bhakti yoga, you can say, is your patterning with the environment is to try and exploit it all the time. And the problem with exploiting it all the time is that it will come back and exploit you. That's the trouble. And so the game that we're playing is this game of doing things that are exploitive and trying to dodge the results. And what the very operating system of karma, what it means is a dual word. It means that which I put out is coming back to me. Like, it's only separated by time, right? So we're kind of playing this strange game where even the people that are closest to us are sort of like accoutrements to our exploitive desires, where it's you want your family to look really nice, and your car and your fence and your garage and everything's just kind of this reflection of this endless exploitation, instead of these people that have somehow or other been placed in my care to serve, something like that. So you can say, okay, I'm willing and thinking, and I'm searching after feeling. And now the very vocabulary has changed. And then the idea from the Vedas is that you're moving. They say the body is the biological expression of the soul's delusion. So there's zero accident in how we've somehow or other landed with these sets of lenses, right? And they're very faulty, which is the big trouble, right? We're trying, what we see is some kind of hologram, and then our desires are based on what we can perceive, or just a little bit out of what our sphere of exploiting is. Right? It's even studied. It's not we're going man, I wish I had a private jet. It's just something just out of reach all the time, and we just kind of run after it. And so then you're going, oh, this is the game. And so then to kind of speak to that idea, then you're going, oh, well, we have a certain set that we're in, and then we're rushing inevitably towards a gateway where we leave this conscious journey behind, right? And then where am I going? And you could say, right, that's what they're saying, there's this idea of that's coming from very refined people that you meet occasionally, where they go through very difficult circumstances in such a wonderful, dignified way that you wonder, what are they mining inside of themselves that allows them to go through this? And that's a great question. Because the problem with being in a body is that it's subject to the 4 major changes: birth, death, old age, and disease, right? And if you want to use modern English, you could say the body is subject to trauma. And how does one go through the betrayals that happen because time is eating everything? And then you start to go, well, if I am a conscious unit, where was I X number of years ago? Where did these impressions come from? And then if you are something that was alive before this body, that means that the spectrum of possibility has now expanded practically infinitely. And so that's a big thing to contemplate. If I'm a soul traveling through this body, where do I go after it leaves this body? And how do I go through that? And then you go, oh, well, if I meditate on something when I die, and then you go, oh, he is that which is. It means you're the sole totality of what you're contemplating in your life. And if your body's crushed, what will come out of that subtle body will be the soul, the totality of what you're meditating on. So then you start to go, oh, no wonder, even fairy tales are kind of urging this thing. Be very careful what you wish for, right? What does that mean? Be careful what ideal that you are meditating on in your life, right? If it's just going to be a little pile of gold, that's actually not going to soothe your soul on the deepest level, right? That's not the feeling on the highest level. That's just some power, some accumulated power that you can disperse. But that's not what your heart food is, right? And so that's really the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, is what's the heart food? What is the thing that which I somehow or other reciprocate with, that all other things start to lose, they're kind of glittering glamour over me? And then could I feel immense connection in my life with maybe the most paltry thing, because that's what's placed in front of me in that moment. So that's really exciting and very cool. And then you go, oh my gosh. Then also, if we're dying, the adventure of how short our lifespan is explodes with vibrancy in life. And now you're going, whoa, this thing is really impossible. Of all the different possibilities for us to all be here in this moment, you're like, whoa, this is really exciting and amazing. Because it's very, if we can keep that, even just that small meditation in the forefront, the quality of our words, the quality of our mind, and the quality of our relationships, even on a most basic level, can get like up-leveled. Because you go, oh, I'm going to pass away. Like, why would I speak to that person like that? Oh, I'm going to pass away. Why would I think that kind of thought? Oh, we're moving through. You feel like some graciousness because it's like we're just passing through. And that's really the truth. We are just passing through. Maybe it's a 30-year, maybe it's a 90-year, you know, but it is still passing through, you know. And so it changes some of the contemplation on the journey.
Make the journey excited.
It really is. You just go, oh, if there's not much of it, okay, like that heightens it. If it's like the endless, like, you know, like when is it over? So anyways, it's just nice to think when it goes, oh, you're going to pass to another body. And I always think that's curious because you go, oh, well, there's a lot of things that are understood in that sentence, right? Like, I'm going to be in another body and I don't even care about my last life's dramas. Like right now, you know what I mean? I'm all like, oh man, those kids, oh, they're driving crazy, you know, like. So if that's the case, you know, like it's a different thing that's being called out.
Can I say one word?
Yeah, please.
Is like in a sense of what we can surely say only that we are the doer is when we exercise that little bit of freedom we are getting in terms of deciding, is my move is toward the divinity or not? Just, that's it. That's basically burns down to only one doing. Because the rest is just the karma reveals.
That's the fundamental fulcrum point. Okay, maybe we can read done with our house prasadam doing.
There's
All
only,
right.
there's only a couple more pages.
How many?
Anyway, just one and a half maybe.
There are 85 verses and we're on 66. Okay, well, let's see how we do.
Let's pull to the end. It's almost
Gita Pustakadhanam cha 66. Dhenupucha samanvitam Ritva cha taddine samyak Kritakto jayate janaha Pustakam hina samyuktam Gitaya prakarotiya Dhatva vipraya bhut
Jayadeshna punarvavam
Shatapushtakadanam cha Gitaya prakarotiya Sayati brahma sadanam Punahavriti durlabham Gitadana prabhavena Saptakalpa mitavasa Vishnulokam avapyante Vishnuna samodate Samyak shrutva cha gitatam Pustakam ya padapayet Tasmai pita Shri Bhagavan Dadati manase siddham.
Hare Arshad.
I got it.
Alright, so.
A person who makes a gift of a book of the Gita with a yak tail whisk achieves success in all his endeavors that day. One who makes a gift of a book of the Gita along with a presentation of gold to a learned brahmana never takes birth in the material world again. One who makes a gift of 100 copies of the Gita attains to the plane of the Absolute wherefrom rebirth practically never occurs. By the potency of making a gift of the Gita, one attains residence in the abode of Lord Vishnu for 7 millenniums and joyfully associates with the Supreme Lord Vishnu.
You can read 70 also.
That's ISKCON distribution is so massive.
One who attentively hears the purport of the Gita and makes a gift of that book to a brahmana, he brings satisfaction to the Supreme Lord, who blesses him with the fulfillment of all his aspirations.
Okay, 71, 72, 73, 74. Nashrinoti Dhammatati Gitamamrita Rupinam Vastatyakva Brahmanam Praptam Sanaro Vishamashnate Jana Samsara Dukhato Gita Jnanam Samalave Pitva Gitamritam Loke Labha Bhaktim Sukhi Bhave Gitamashritya Mahavu Bhujo Janakadaya Nirduta Kamnasaloke Katasya Kanamam Padam Gitasu Navisheshosti Janeshu Chavacheshu Cha Gyaneshveva Samareshu Samabrahma Sarupini.
Will you read? Would you read?
I will.
71.
71.
Who neither sing.
Let's see. A person who neither sings nor hears the nectarian Gita is like one who has nectar in his hand yet leaves it aside to drink poison. When persons suffering in this world of death discover the wisdom of the Gita and drink the nectar of the Gita, they take refuge in devotion for the Supreme Lord and become truly happy. Many saintly kings, such as King Janaka and others, took shelter in the wisdom of the Gita, and becoming purified of all sins, achieved the supreme destination. Neither high nor low birth qualifies or disqualifies a faithful person in the singing of the Gita, since of all kinds of knowledge, the Gita is the embodiment of Brahman and equal to all.
Beautiful. Okay, 75. Yobhimani Nagarnena Gita Nindam Karoti Cha Sayati Narakam Goram Yavarabhuta Sambhavam Ahamkarena Modatma Gita Tameva Manyate Kumbhipakeshu Pacheta Yavakavakshayo Bhave Gitatam Vachamanyo Nashinoti Samasataha Sashukadabhavam Yonim Anekam Adhigachati Choyam Kritva Chagitayam Pushtakam Yasamanaye Natasya Sabhavam Kinchit Patanam Chavrita Bhave. All right, in action.
A person who out of egoism and pride blaspheme the Gita will never
Will have
to reside will have to reside in terrible hell up to the time of universal annihilation. That foolish person who deluded by egoism disregards the purport of the Gita must remain boiling in oil in hell known as Kumbhapaka until the annihilation of the end of the millennium. Wow. One who makes much of speaking about the purport of the Gita, yet never properly hears about it, repeatedly expressed as a fog. My goodness. A person who obtained the book of the Gita by theft is unsuccessful in all his endeavors. Even this attempt to sing the Gita will be in vain. All these bad things we should not be doing.
Let's not do that one.
We've been warned.
Well, I'm just going to say just one half of a minute. I know we want to get through, but we've heard about hell, right? But in the Vedas, there's a lot of different descriptions of different kinds of hell for different kinds of things. But of course, it's not eternal, but it can be. The thing about that is that when you are critical to a very innocent thing and a very beneficial and wonderful, like magnanimous thing, it is really a very great offense. you know, if you just insult some ordinary guy or something like that, I mean, but to go against something that's come in such a beneficent mood, such sweet and lovely kind, that it is really a nasty, horrible thing.
Moving toward.
But we are 79 now?
We are on 79. Okay. Yashutva naiva gitam cha modate paramatata naiva tasya palam loke paramasya yathashrama gitam shutva hiranyam cha bojam bhattambaram tata nivedaya pradanatam vidate paramatmanaha vachakam punjayat bhaktva Dravyavastra Divaskarai Anikya Bhagavad Vidya Tushyatam Bhagavan Hari Sutta Uvacha Mahatmyam Etad Gitaya Krishna Prabhutam Puratanam Gitante Bhaktayastu Yatota Paramabhave. One who, hearing the Gita, does not experience spiritual joy. His life is fruitless like the labor of one deluded. To please the Supreme Lord, after hearing the Gita, one should offer gold, food, and silken cloth to a Vaishnava Brahmana. To satisfy the Supreme Lord Hari, one must worship the speaker of the Gita with devotion, offering him cloth and many worshipful presentations. Sutta Goswami said, these eternal glories of the Gita are sung by the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna himself. One who sings the glories of the Gita on completion of singing the Gita can partake of the fruits of the Gita, as mentioned herein. 83, 84, 85. Gitaya Pathanam Kritva Mahatmyam Naivaya Pate Vrithavata Palam Tasya Shama Eva Udaditaha Etan Mahatmyam Samyuktam Gita Patham Karotiya Shradaya Yashanotyeva Paramam Gatyam Apnuyat Shritva Gita Bhaktayuktam Mahatmyam Yashinoti Cha Tasya Punya Palam Loke Bhavet Sarva Sukhabhadam Shri Vaishnaviyam Tasari Srimad Bhagavad Mahatmyam Sampurno Yam Grantha Shri Krishna Astu.
The attempt to sing the Gita is but fruitless labor for a person who neglects to conclude with the singing of the glories of the Gita. One who with heart's faith hears or sings the Gita, complete with the glories of the Gita, reaches the supreme destination. One who with faith hears this meaningful Gita, song divine, and hears in conclusion the glories of the Gita, shall reap the fruits of virtue in this world, and his life will be filled with joy. Thus is completed the glories of the Sri Gita from the Sri Vaishnavya Tantrashar. This is completed Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. Thus is completed Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, the hidden treasure of the Sweet Absolute. May Sri Krishna mercifully accept this offering.
Jaya, this is so wonderful.
Jaya Bhagavad Gita Upanishad Ki Jaya.
Jaya.
Thoughts from anyone? We can have a quick kirtan.
Yes.
What Hari Haraya? Okay, so that's, what page is Hari Haraya?
66, I think.
67?
6. 66.
Oh, 66, page 66.
This one?
Yes.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama
Giridhari Gopinath Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Radha Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Rupa
Maharaja ki Jaya.
Jaya.
Jaya Param Guru Maharaj Srila Bhakti Rakshaka Sri Dhaddev Goswami ki Jaya. Jaya Rupanand Guru Varga ki Jaya. Jaya Srimad Bhagavad-GITA Upanishad ki Jaya. Shri Krishna Shri Arjuna ki Jaya. Kshetra Dham ki Jaya. Jaya to all those meditating upon Gita tonight ki Jaya. Mahaprasad ki Jaya. Jaya Guru Premanande.
Oh, there's something. How is your fasting?
It was great. It was awesome.
70 how many?
Huh?
70.
It's about 84.
84? Wow, that's was it hard?
It was hard the first 24 hours, and that was really very
You did it for how long?
84 hours.
Oh, 84 hours. I was like, 84 days.
Processing sunlight.
Bhima Krishna Prabhu says happy to see you all.
Happy
Bhima!
to see you.
And he's quoting you, Sudarshan, a very nice quote, something you said. Yoga doesn't mean to have like really loose hamstrings.
That was funny.
That was so funny, yeah. Dandavat Bhima Prabhu.